It's it's the best book in the series, right? Right? It's the best book. How bad could it be? Here we go. Alright, so continuing on with my Anima Beyond Fantasy series. This time we're looking at Beyond the Dreams Volume 1. This is the Anima setting book, and to most of the people that I've talked to, they've always said the same thing. I can't stand the game, but the setting is amazing. Now, I can sort of see where they're coming from, but however, I'm gonna talk to you guys about the setting, and boy oh boy, I'm going to break this down. Be advised, this is gonna be a really long video, because I'm going to go chapter by chapter. I'm not gonna go through the whole book, no, but I'm gonna be looking at some key things about this setting. For that, I have my trusty notebook. This notebook, I have all the monsters that I create, all the magic items, classes, you name it, and also 8 pages worth of the Anima review. Or is it 9? It's probably 9. So, let's go head in. So, you know that I mentioned that it's called Beyond the Dreams Volume 1, and it's because the setting is humongous. It's ginormous. This place, if you've ever played Exalted, so you probably know about creation, Gaia, the world of Anima, it's a lot bigger. A lot bigger. And that's almost impossible to think about because creation itself from Exalted is ginormous. But, well, Carlos Aparicio, the creator of Anima, decided to make it that big, and he is also the creator of the setting. He's the one that wrote most of the setting. So it's called Volume 1. Volume 2 hasn't come out yet to the States. It's already out in Spain, where the game's originally from. And it's been out for well over 5 years. So we are probably not gonna see a US release. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I'll let you decide. I honestly think it's a bad thing. I would like to have the whole setting, not just half the setting. See, this world is divided into 2 continents, 2 giant continents. Call it the New World and the Old World. Basically, you know, Europe and the US. Now this book concentrates on the Old World, on the biggest continent, but we have nothing on the new one at all. So this begins with chapter 1, A Vision of Gaia. Alright, let me go to the actual notes. Alright, so in this book, we notice that we have not races but ethnic groups. They give you a lot of different ethnic groups, and each ethnic group, you know, looks differently, which is fine for diversity. If you remember from the previous review, there are no real races in Anima. There's only, you're either human or a Nephilim, which is basically half human, half mysticism, half human, half magic, half human light magic, or half human black magic. That's what you are. But then you have these this ethnic group called what's it, A.R.M.R, and the A.R.M.R, they are black, dark skinned, very dark skinned, with dark eyes and white hair. So for those of you who are Drow enthusiasts, you know, you can look into that, so that's awesome. And, well, your road to becoming a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu can start right here, being a A.R.M.R. Because the book states that they are one of the smallest races. not small in size that, there are not that many of them. So you also have in chapter 1 they describe the science and technology in the world. A lot of them. There's technologies all over the place. You can have places that are similar to ancient Egypt in technology, all the way up to zeppelins. Not, stereotypical fantasy airships. No, zeppelins with, the blimps and the small, yeah, actual zeppelins. So, it's all over the place. Then you have currencies. And I understand why Carlos Aparicio, the man who wrote this, did this. There are different currencies because the world is so big. Why wouldn't you have different currencies? There are a lot of different societies. However, you as a game master, I'm pretty sure you're not gonna keep track of every one. And they give you an idea of what the exchange rate should or could be. But are you really gonna be looking at that much minutia? I mean, if you are, the more power to you. But man, that's just... Well, the game usually, you use crowns. You use gold crowns. That's the name of the currency, gold crowns, their coins. But other places have other currencies. But honestly, why would you ever do or use anything else? I don't know. Then you have ships, you have carriages, like I said, you have the blimps. There are languages, a lot of them. And it's not like Pathfinder, you have Dwarven, Elven, Common, Goblinoid, Orc. You have a lot of different languages, like Latin, Enoch, stuff like that, Some really, really weird languages. And the game tells you that you only learn the language from the place that you came from, that your character came from. And that's weird. Then there's no real concrete way to learn new languages. It gives you the example that if you have a good reason and if you have someone near that knows the languages, they can teach you, but you don't spend any points to learn languages. There's no real concrete way to learn these languages. So that's kind of weird. And even, to a game that has so many different minutia and small things, not to include a concrete way to learn languages is just weird. Then there's a part that talks about the different types of entertainment there are in the world. And, fantasy world, you have your run-of-the-mill gambling, fighter rings, stuff like that. But then you also have teen pop idols. Yeah, I wrote that. There are teen pop idols in the world of Gaia. And it's a new craze, the book states, that's been creeping up on people. Teen pop idols. Teens that actually have managers and they go out in carriages all around the world singing for people. I mean, to me, it just gives me a huge setting whiplash. Because here I am trying to run, save the princess, kill the dragon. Oh, and by the way, after you kill the princess, she gives you front row seats to One Direction. I don't know, it's just... I mean, sure, you're trying to target a larger demographic, but that's one of the major problems of the Anima system. It's trying to appease everybody. Then the book states and tells about one particular one, Andiel. Andiel is the biggest pop idol. And Andiel was your regular girl with dreams of becoming a famous singer. And by happenstance, this man with a white cloak, white lab coat, and glasses and long straight black hair got near her and just... The book doesn't say what exactly, but he gave her singing powers. The name of this man is Schwarzwald. Oh, and I'm gonna be coming back to Schwarzwald a lot. He's one of the last things I'm gonna be talking about, so stay tuned for that. Then the book also tells you there's something called Eden. And when I read it, I'm like, okay, Eden's like a paradise type of place. No. No, why would you think that? Why, oh why do you think that in a fantasy game, some place called Eden is a place of paradise? How dare you? You do not understand the machinations of Carlos Aparicio. You do not understand them and you never will. Eden is a game like Blitzball. No. Alright, go back a couple of seconds and hear that again. Blitzball. Yeah, from Final Fantasy X, Blitzball. That game that annoyed the living hell out of me. Blitzball. But not completely like Blitzball, however. Instead, because it's stupider. I can't believe that it's stupider. It's stupider than Blitzball because, alright, fantasy, you're holding your breath for millions of hours at a time. Alright, at least that's very high fantasy. But in this game, you have a field and there are randomly placed pillars about 12 feet tall, concrete pillars, all around the field. And these teams have to run around these pillars, sometimes shooting the ball, throwing the ball, kicking the ball, and punching the ball to ricochet off these pillars to get a goal. Now, I'm sorry if you don't find that stupid. Clearly, there's something wrong with you. But that's some anime stuff right there. Oh boy, and that's what you're gonna notice the most about Anima and its setting. It draws a lot of inspiration from anime. While the setting, the core book itself and its rules draw a lot from Final Fantasy, the setting itself draws a lot from anime, and it uses a lot of anime tropes. And my word, are the Mary Sues and Gary Stews abundant in this game. Not your characters, although maybe your characters, but mostly the iconic characters from the setting, the important NPCs of the setting, if you will. Chapter 2, History. And one of the things I like the most about this game, it's Christian fantasy. Now don't worry, I'm not gonna be stepping on anybody's toes here. Your religion is safe, cause it's Christianity in name, but it has nothing to do with Christianity. And I know I just said that it's one of my favorite things, but favorite things in idea, because I do like the idea of Christian fantasy. It's just the way they do it here. Because it says, you know, Christian fantasy, but honestly, it just has generic anime tropes, and it has the whole generic, in the past, there was an age of chaos, where people fought against other peoples and magical animals. But something happened. A machine was activated that took away the magic from the world, and now slowly but surely magic is seeping back in. They're doing that. So you can find a lot of these old ancient artifacts that nobody knows how to use, and your game master's never gonna let you use, because why would he? Then you also had a Messiah, and here's where the Christian thing comes from. His name was Abel Christ. Yeah. Abel Christ was the Messiah. And he led the people against Judas. Oh yeah. Was it Judas? Yeah. Judas Raw, I think it was, or Iscariot Raw. It was something stupid like that. Very stupid. Machine activated, magic disappeared, nobody knows where Jesus is. That's what the setting book tells you. The core book tells you that he was crucified and then buried, and he didn't come back 3 days afterwards. I'm not joking. The core book tells you he was crucified but he did not come back 3 days later. That's just something really weird to mention. He did not come back 3 days later. Anyways, then during this whole war of chaos going around, the traitor Judas or Iscariot, or it wasn't Judas Iscariot because that's the guy from the Bible. It was either Judas or Iscariot something. Raw. He had something called the Conclave, and the Conclave were his 12 disciples. And among them there was a female called Millennium. Ooh, that's an ominous sounding name, right? Yeah. So, the reason I'm mentioning Millennium is because she's this stereotypical, generic, super mysterious entity that nobody knows what she's doing there, where she came from, what her powers are. And it mentions this whole thing that she's less powerful than the other members of the Conclave, but sometimes she unleashes powers that rival even those of the whole Conclave put together. Then why write her like she's just not as strong as them, and then at the end of the paragraph tell me that she has more power than them? That's just bad writing. Oh man, that's just silly. That's like telling me, oh, Fireball is a very powerful spell. It deals non-lethal damage. See, one thing doesn't go with the other. You're contradicting yourself, sir. Alright, moving on. After the War in Heaven, there was the Holy Empire was established. And unlike other games, the Empire is not the evil one here, because the Empire was very, very, very good. Following a lot of Christian dogmas. Or so the book wants to let you understand, but it doesn't tell you any of those dogmas. Sorry. I'm getting a little bit flustered here. So, the Old Continent. Then you go to a really interesting part, because in chapter 3, that it talks about the different principalities in the Old Continent, and they did this really well. Unlike the core book, the setting book is really well organized. Now each principality has pictures of its map of its area, only its area. So it's a lot easier to, you know, read it. It tells you of places of interest. It gives you adventuring ideas, which, you know, you can also use the places of interest. And then it even tells you how the people from that principality regards the supernatural. I don't know if you remember, or if I mentioned it last video in the first Anima review, that even though the supernatural world is very, very important in the game, in the setting, people run from you. Sorry. People run away. They are scared, deadly scared of mages, people with psychic powers, and Dominion powers. Dominion powers less, with wizardry being the most people are scared of. So why give me a game so full of supernatural stuff if I'm gonna be a pariah? So what are you supposed to play? You're supposed to play that you're always hiding from the cops, you're always hiding from everybody? Because there are people, there are organizations in this game that they are hell-bent in capturing and killing anybody with supernatural abilities. That's how bad it is. So, but I do like that they have that part, you know, so you know how to run your game properly, so your players know what to expect. There are places where they don't mind the supernatural. There are places where you are killed on sight, so you know you have the whole spectrum. You have the whole spectrum to play around in. First, let's go with the Sacred Holy Empire of Abel. Sacred Holy Empire of Abel. It's not the Sacred Empire of Abel. It's not the Holy Empire of Abel. It's the Sacred and Holy Empire of Abel. It's a very holy place. This is the generic fantasy principality. You want to run fantasy? Well, here you go. That's as much fantasy as you can have. Most people are Catholic, to put it in a way. The similarities are there. I'm sorry. You have they have an empress, not an emperor. They have an empress. Something weird that happened. The previous emperor's son. The previous emperor was murdered, and they blamed it on the son. But it wasn't the son. As much magic and mystical powers the setting has, they don't really have really good private investigators apparently. But the son, Lucanor, he was giving his own principality, and then the man that apprehended him, his daughter became the empress. However that works. So enter Empress Elisabetta Barbados, or Barbados, or Barbatos. I don't know how you say that. So during the last war, this girl, she is only 13 years old at the beginning of the campaign, I don't know. But 5 years ago, when she was 8, there was a big war where they ended up killing the last emperor and, you know, all that stuff. And here, with the problem with the setting, mostly the NPCs comes very apparent. They're all Mary Sue's. Every single last one of them. See, she was kidnapped by a guy called Nemesis. Yeah, that was his name. His name was Nemesis. The guy had no name, no last name. Probably was Nemesis. We don't know. But maybe he was first name Ne and then last name Mrs. Who knows? So she was kidnapped, and the weirdest thing happened. Stockholm Syndrome. She fell in love with him. Because apparently she was going to be murdered, but he saved her, but he was supposed to kidnap her anyways. So in the small time they spent together, she ended up developing feelings for him anyways. I don't know, ladies. Make of that what you will. We have no idea who Nemesis is. We know that he works for a woman called El Jared, but nearing the end of the review, I'm gonna talk about who El Jared is, and we really never know. So spoilers. We really never know. We really never know who Nemesis is. Only that he has white hair and fair skin, and that he's really good at fighting with weapons. So she falls for Senpai. The war finishes. People save her, and she's still fawning over him 5 years later. So much so that she actually has an alter ego called Anna Never. And when she dons this persona, she leaves the Empire. The Empress leaves the Empire and goes off adventuring. This girl has the strongest secret service in the entire world. Yet they have no idea that the Empress is leaving to adventure, to find her crush of when she was 8 years old. But apparently this is the best book in the series. The setting is amazing. Wow. And she's still looking for him. We have no idea where he is. If I did, I read a fanfic. She found him. He's crazy. He kills her. Done. Then, after that brouhaha with the Empress. Oh, yeah, the game also tells you, the book also tells you that she has the highest gnosis of everybody in the entire world. Remember gnosis, that very, very obscure stuff at the end of the setting book? Not the setting book, the core book? That the higher your gnosis is, the more important you are to the game. And the more powers you have, the book states, the Sunny book states, she is the human mortal with the most noses in the world. So it's telling you outright, players, you are never gonna be as important as the NPC Empress that's in love with the man that kidnapped her when she was 8 years old, who is abandoning her empire to look and find him where she could die. Highest gnosis in the world. What is gnosis? Who knows? Then we have Kisidon. Kisidon is her loyal protector. Interesting things when it comes to Kisidon and the Empress. Very interesting things. Not what you're thinking, get your head out of the gutter. I mean it from a story standpoint. From a story point of view. But more on that soon.